Well, good morning and welcome to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We are broadcasting live and proudly from the Hesselson studio on Marcus Street in Corning, and we have a lot to cover this morning. We're going to be talking about the Supreme Court decisions. We still have a lot of the fallout, if you will, from primaries last Tuesday, a week ago today. We also have just some updates on the Democrat Party, the Republican Party, some Iran, some New York. Let's get right to it. This has been a trend as the lead up to America 250 continues. Another poll from the Associated Press showing that fewer Americans are proud of the U.S. achievements, according, again, to the Associated Press. America's pride in the United States on several key attributes have dropped since 2017, including the nation's military and its political influence around the globe. The poll was conducted in April as the United States and Iran fought over the Strait of Hormuz in a prolonged war, interesting, that started with the U.S. and Israel launching strikes on Iran. A new Gallup polling also finds that only 53% of U.S. adults are extremely or very proud to be an American, the lowest reading in the trend dating back to 2001. The findings point to a broad decline in patriotic sentiment over a tumultuous period that included most of President Donald Trump's first term, the COVID-19 pandemic, and rising inflation that contributed to a backlash against President Joe Biden. That time frame also covers Trump's return to the White House, where he's taken more aggressive action on immigration and issues abroad. I still think immigration is definitely a winning policy for Republicans, but we'll continue. At the same time, most U.S. adults say that being an American is extremely or very important to their identity, highlighting an enduring connection. So what I find interesting is just like what we see in polling when it's election season, the contradictions of the various polls that we've had. But America's pride, according to the Associated Press, and the way democracy works in the U.S. has declined 14 percentage points, falling from 42% in February of 2017 to just 28% now. And we can understand why why we see this rise in the socialism. We can point it all back to, I believe, the education system and really indoctrination there, but also through the mainstream media. They interviewed Carla Galmadez, a 48-year-old Democrat who used to teach U.S. history. If that doesn't say a lot in that one little sentence. She believes America has regressed under the Trump administration. So that's where the Associated Press, going back to how the media twists the story, I've got some examples of that later on, twists the story. The first person she interviews is not a politician, is not a pundit. It's a 48-year-old Democrat who used to teach U.S. history. You wonder what her thoughts on U.S. history were when you see what she's about to say. She's not proud of Trump. She is pleased with how far the U.S. has gone in 250 years. It's a country that really wanted to be different and really wanted to be better, despite some of the very ugly history that we have of segregation and slavery. If you look at the trajectory of the last 250 years, we've done nothing but get better and move towards a better nation. Only 14% of Democrats and 28% of independents say they're extremely proud to be an American. The poll found that Republicans are especially likely to be proud of the nation's armed forces. About 9 in 10 Republicans say the military makes them extremely or very proud, compared with about 6 in 10 U.S. adults. Now, if you look at the recent Economist YouGov poll, I guess I'm falling into the trap of reading all these polls before America 250 as well. But many Democrats are not expressing American pride ahead of the 250th celebration, as only 8% of Democrats consider America the greatest country on earth. Of course, the follow-up question would be, well, where do you think the greatest country on earth is? Out of curiosity. A majority say the U.S. is at least better than average. Specifically, 25% said America is the greatest country, 20% said it's among the greatest, and 12% said better than average. Only 12% overall said America is worse than average, while 9% said among the worst, And 4% of people actually said that America is the worst. That is such a prime example of kind of that ego and narcissism where you're having a bad day. So this must be the worst day in history because, again, self-centered, that history started the day that they were born. And because they don't, for instance, like Trump, then this must be the worst time in human history. That means that because we voted for Trump, this must be the worst country in the world. The worst country, folks. 4% of people polled by this Economist YouGov poll said 4% said the worst country. Republicans are far more likely to describe America as the greatest country, 52%. By the way, that number has to increase. That's disappointing. Followed by 28% of Republicans who said it is among the greatest countries. Democrats, however, do not feel as proud. Only 8% of Democrats describe America as the greatest country, while 16% said it's among the greatest. Stunningly, a plurality of Democrats, 23%, describe America as worse than average compared to other countries, and 15% said the U.S. is amongst the worst. Wow, 15% of Democrats said that U.S. is amongst the worst. 4% said America is the worst altogether. So the 4% in that poll coming from Democrats. Another 13% of Democrats said America is about average, and 13% described the country as better than average. And that led to a piece at NBC. Is it MS Now? To fly or not to fly an American flag. As a polarized nation, this coming from NBC, this is what we talk about with the legacy and mainstream media. As a polarized nation marks its 250th birthday, Bruce Watson, a random man they interviewed, worries his stars and stripes may now need an asterisk. Quote, if we do fly the flag, we always put out signs to make it clear that we are not MAGA. The crux of this probably 10-page article, starting out right out with the negative. This is by Corky Samasco at NBC. Starts off with the negative. Doesn't start off with someone that's full of pride for flying the American flag. No. Mr. Watson decides to make sure you know when he flies the American flag that he's not MAGA. And the article is titled, As Nation Turns 250, Many Americans say the Stars and Stripes is now a red flag, meaning a warning, a red flag, when something's a red flag. The American flag, to some it's old glory, to others it's a MAGA hat on a stick. Yes, this is an actual article as we lead up to America 250. And then we wonder why we see Democrat Socialists of America winning overwhelmingly last Tuesday. We see why the polls show that Democrats are not proud of the country. The American flag is a symbol striped with many meanings, whether it's hung on front porches, waved in parades, protests, and World Cup matches, or stamped on lapel pins and boxing trunks. Like so much else in American life, it has also been tangled up in politics and the policies of President Donald Trump. NBC News asked readers to share their feelings and practices around the flag in a moment polls suggest when patriotism, national pride, and optimism for the country's future are all fraying. Like Watson, some say the flag can be taken as an endorsement of the current administration. For others, it isn't tied to any one party, but it's a way of life. Rather than not fly the flag, several readers said they plan to show their patriotism and protest Trump. That's how they're showing their patriotism, by flying it upside down to signal that the country is in distress. So far, we're page 4 in, and it's all negative on the flag from NBC. Again, it's more of a kind of an expose, if you will, on what we're dealing with the media. Dina Bannock, and I always find these men on the street, they're just finding random people is always interesting to me. But Dina Bannock, 61, who lives outside Des Moines, Iowa, said Donald Trump has turned everything upside down, so it makes sense our flag should be upside down. It's a shame. We used to be a proud nation. Now our country is in distress. And for some reason, that is all President Trump's fault. Sounds a little bit like victim blaming there, where your hatred has overpowered your love of country, that your hate, and so many people have said this in the past, that the hate for Trump has blinded you to the nation, has created a scenario where you hate Trump more than you love the country. I think the polls, not you, I'm just saying in general, people, and many of these people that they even interview, that their hatred for Trump trumps their love of country. Trump supporters, here we are, page 5, 6, something. Okay, finally we get to one. Dave Kavanaugh of Massachusetts questioned such protests. The professional woodcarver is so devoted to Trump that he is busy chiseling a statue of him that right now sits partially finished on his front yard, saying, "I couldn't be prouder to be an American. I believe Americans should be proud to fly the flag and fly it in the right way. What's shameful is that people who hate Trump are flying the flag upside down." Trump supporters have also flown the flag upside down, most notably after his defeat in the 2020 election to Joe Biden. An upside-down flag was also spotted flying outside the Virginia home of conservative Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito in January of 2021. The month pro-Trump riders stormed the Capitol. Rather than fly the Stars and Stripes, Master Sergeant Frank Chappell of the Air National Guard has gone with an alternative flag. Part of what makes America, us American, is that we can meet in the middle. We can come together in the center and find things we can all agree on. But what Trump has been doing through some of his rhetoric and policies is driving a wedge between Americans, dividing us even further. So when I bought my home, I replaced the U.S. flag with the state flag of Pennsylvania. Interesting. Chappelle is a religious affairs airman and provides crisis counseling and spiritual care for people from all faiths or none. He said he plans to fly the flag again once I believe that the states are more united in vision, tolerance, and empathy towards our fellow Americans. Well, that's a tough place to be. A religious affairs airman with a clear anger for the president. Why are we going through all this? It doesn't really matter, right? But the idea is that the American flag is now somehow a symbol of Trump. But this goes back in that piece. I think it was Rich Lowry had that great piece saying that Democrats always get upset when you say that they're not patriotic, but then the polling shows that they clearly are not. And then you have pieces like this where they're not willing to fly the flag because they believe it could be some type of symbol of what? I mean, this goes back a long time ago. You can talk about it in Vietnam. You can talk about protest songs. But the battle over who can lay claim to America's flag, historians say, has been raging since at least the Vietnam War, when both Democrats and Republicans waved it as demonstrations for or against the conflict that divided the nation. Alex Wagner, an adjunct professor at Syracuse University's Maxwell School of Citizenship and Public Affairs, said the right used it to make the point that patriotism meant that the U.S. could do no wrong even when it did. People on the left use it to make the point that we as Americans shouldn't be fighting a war that's at odds with our national principles, like that of self-determination. But it was the hard right that seized the flag and began smearing all liberals as unpatriotic, said Sean Wallens. But what do the polls show? I mean, these polls aren't coming from conservative outlets. They're coming from the Associated Press. They're coming from NBC. And again, remember, keep in mind when we talk about the indoctrination education system, notice that that's two professors right there. This one from Princeton saying conservative and right-wing politicians went along with this, exploited it, and the dialect of disaffection worsened. So being proud of the American flag created the division of why people aren't proud of the American flag. Okay. I think that's enough on that piece. But unfortunately, we've had these articles in the run-up to America 250, and then we hear stories like this that we brought to you last week. I think I brought it to you last week. I might have. Mayor John Buckley was kind enough to ask me on his radio broadcast in Hornell on the Pulse on WLEA, Saturdays and Sundays at 1. I was on last week, so I might have brought this up on our show here, or I might have brought them up on both. I can't remember. But a Florida tattoo shop that went viral after refusing service to active duty military members and veterans is now offering customers a 20% discount if they can prove they are not in the military or law enforcement, further inflaming critics, so he's getting the attention that he wants. A Sunday post on Facebook from Revival Tattoo Collective. Always a red flag when something's called a collective, by the way. In Largo, Florida, read, I see a lot of shops supporting the military and law enforcement offering deals locally. I've got one as well. 20% discount on any tattoo if you can prove you're not law enforcement or military. And don't get all in the comments, he really needs the work, blah, blah, blah. This is just giving back to people who aren't hateful like yourselves and can see things for what it is. So you're proving, so all law enforcement, all military are hateful is what this person is suggesting. Now, his June 23rd Facebook post said, once again, for the slow ones, the military, pretty simple. If you are ex-military or currently serving, just don't come to the shop. You will be turned away. Now, most of the comments, needless to say, have been negative. So the guy that spreads hateful propaganda against military and law enforcement is trying to put on blast and shun those who disagree with him. You can't start blank and then play victim. I'm so confused by the amount of hatred and hypocrisy. Anyways, since we are out here clout chasing because you run a sham business and all your artists left, I'm a veteran and I own a local handyman business. If anyone needs work done in the Tampa area, I'm offering 20% off for my brothers and sisters in any public or federal service uniform. Some people responded with humor. Do I get an extra 20% off if I could prove I'm an illegal? Another quick 20% off if you serve time with this guy. It's sad, but these are the headlines. Now we have a suggestion from a viewer since we've had so many negative polls. Why don't you do an impromptu poll right here on Frankly Speaking? Impromptu poll regarding whether or not the listeners are proud or not to be an American. A scale of 1 to 10, where 1, absolutely not proud at all to be an American, and 10 being extremely proud to be an American. So there you go. I like that suggestion. On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being zero patriot, well, I shouldn't say zero. 1 being no patriotism whatsoever, 10 being extremely proud of this country. Where do you stand on this impromptu, Frankly Speaking, poll on this Tuesday morning, as we will be talking about the rise of socialism? Now, Mark writes in, good morning, Frank. Well, good morning, Mark. I wonder if they polled mostly blue states to see if people are proud to be an American, because if you're not proud of your state, it might bleed over to you not being proud of America. Because of Hochul, I'm not proud of New York State. It's an interesting point. Good question. I'm not sure. Well, I would think I think it was just overall poll throughout the country, but they definitely got the interviews from what I would assume were blue states. So again, suggesting an impromptu poll on a scale of 1 to 10. How proud are you of being American? 10 the most proud, 1 the least. We got to take a short break because when we come back, we'll tell you another little poll they did for America, and then we've got to move on to some breaking stories. Again, some updates on the Democrat Party, some interesting things coming out there. Hakeem Jeffries in a very tough place. Oh, my goodness, look at the time. I'm rambling on this morning. Stay with us. We'll be right back. I just said stay with us. Stay with us. I didn't realize we're 2 breaks behind. We'll be right back.
You don't have time to go to the gym? The health club is not an option? Come to Hesselson today and see why swim spas and fitness systems can fit into anyone's yard and budget. 12-foot, 14-foot, 15-foot, 18-foot dual temperature hot tub and swim spas are all on display in Hesselson's indoor and outdoor showroom. Try before you buy. 0% interest-free financing options are available on every Hesselson swim spa. Swim and exercise year-round and start making every day better. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
I was a quarterback at Hardaway High School. College first round draft pick. During the football season, I would stop eating. But I didn't know I was depressed. We didn't have any education behind what mental health was. I started to learn it starts here first. If this is together, I'll be better as a father and as a husband. We have to redefine what being a strong man is and heal, love your mind.
Hello there, I'm meteorologist Brandon Weathers. We do have some shower and thunderstorm potential into the later part of our Tuesday. Before that happens, temperatures pushing toward 93. We'll have lingering storms overnight with temperatures bottoming out only in the low 70s. Then well into the 90s on Wednesday with more thunderstorm potential, 99 and sunshine on Thursday, maintaining some heat over 4th of July weekend with additional showers and thunderstorms, which
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. From a viewer suggestion, we are doing an impromptu poll because there's so many polls coming out talking about how Democrats are upset with America and only 8% patriotic, et cetera, et cetera. So we're doing an impromptu poll ourselves. Here's what we've gotten so far. Oh, here's one. 4 years of open borders ruined it. Thanks a lot, Democrats, meaning America. Interesting. I'm a 10, but I have also said that when the Democrats were in control, my answer would have been a 1. Interesting. And that leads into what Mark said. Mark said he's an 8. I get there could be some really big concerns with the rise of socialism, with the rise of so much negative news about America and the hatred of Trump, for blind hatred of Trump for the original 4 years, now 2 more years. I can understand why it knocks down that number a little bit because it makes you discouraged. So that's interesting. It makes you concerned about some of your fellow Americans who are going out on primary day and voting for socialism. I kind of understand what you're saying. Farmer John says, I'm proud to be an American. I put you down as a 10, Farmer John. I appreciate that. Comment from a different viewer. Democrats are sheep who have no individual thought. They have to do everything as a herd. All it takes is one to carry a flag from other countries, then they all follow. If one hates America, they all follow. Republicans always show pride because most are rural and actually own a piece of America that they put their lives into. Democrats live in city and most rent and have contempt for those that own property. Well, there is a lot of following, that is for sure. I think that's why you're seeing such an uptick in the Democrat Socialists of America. One of the things that always reminds me of when they talk about these protests reminds me of Colin Kaepernick. And Colin Kaepernick took a knee during the national anthem. You remember the story. Well, then the next week, people had to follow, right? So you had people taking a knee. Then someone would raise their fist, okay? And then someone saw that and they said, all right, I'm going to take a knee and raise my fist. It was as if who could virtue signal the most and still be in support of some cause. So I would agree with you that there is a lot of following there. But how about this before we go to break, because I'm running late. Most Americans, this according to CBS News, most Americans believe that democracy is the country's greatest gift to the world. That's according to a new poll. Those polled also gave a surprising answer for the most American food, shunning hot dogs, apple pie, and pizza for the humble hamburger, according to the survey. Asked what they thought America's greatest invention was, democracy and freedom came top among those surveyed with 16% of the vote. Second on the list, the light bulb. So 16% said democracy and freedom for the world. The next said, you know what, I'm going to go with the light bulb. The internet was third with 10% of votes. Wow. I don't know if that was the best thing we've created. While there is also honorable mentions for the automobile, the telephone, and airplane. All right. Those polled were also asked what they thought the food was that best represents America. The overwhelming winner was a hamburger, with a third, 33%, opting for the ground beef sandwich, whose origin is strongly contested. Second place was barbecue at 25%, while apple pie, for many the quintessential American food, was third with 19%. This is interesting. Tube steaks were the fourth most American food, according to those surveyed, with 14% opting for the hot dog sandwich. Hot dog sandwich, that's a weird way of wording that. A hot dog? While pizza completed the list with 6%. The poll also found that almost 47% of Americans were not too excited or not at all excited about their upcoming America 250 celebration, and just over half, 52%, said that they would not fly a U.S. flag at their home, as we mentioned in that piece. All right, did you know, since we're here blaming Americans apparently for a lot, a Paris politician has blamed you, an American, and U.S. air conditioning for the record-breaking heat wave in Europe that has resulted in more than 1,300 deaths after U.S. tourists mocked France over the lack of air conditioning across the country amid 104-degree temperatures. Audrey Pulver, deputy mayor of Paris for international relations, claimed the situation was partly America's fault, saying, quote, "Dear American journalists and social media influencers, for days some of you have been criticizing and making fun of Paris because the city does not have AC in every room. OMG, this is so rich. As the second largest emitter of greenhouse gas emissions in the world, you bear a significant amount of responsibility for global warming and the consequences we in France are experiencing. Your cities, which are 90% air-conditioned, are not unrelated to this. So please, enough with the lecture. Just start doing your part." Now, France has long been resistant to air conditioning, with only 25% of households in the country equipped with the cooling units. The resistance to installing an AC has been attributed to concerns over the environment, the culture, and strict building codes. But the tides have begun changing as summers get hotter and hotter. All right, enough on that. Also, since we're talking international, quote-unquote, leaders that I guess want to attack us, Venezuela's dreaded interior minister, Diosdado Cabello, who was wanted by the United States, has been slammed as a thug after a video showed him berating and hindering American rescuers in the country as the death toll from last week's twin earthquakes surged above 1,700. Imagine that. American volunteers come over to help, to rescue, and he berates them? U.S. Marines and civilian search and rescue teams have deployed to help find survivors. Members of the elite USA #1 team were mobilized from Virginia, managed to pull a 9-month-old baby and her mother alive from a collapsed building after they were trapped under the rubble for nearly 3 days. Despite their heroics, a viral video posted on social media showed Venezuela's Interior Minister, Cabello, shouting and waving his arms about what appears to be a group of American rescuers. Cabello has a $25 million price on his head from the U.S. authorities and is wanted on charges of narco-terrorism, cocaine importation, and using and carrying machine guns. One frustrated hero can be seen pointing and replying to Cabello, "But there's someone right over there that we're trying to help. You don't want us to help them?" All right. Representative Carlos Gimenez from Florida, a former firefighter, Republican from Florida, a former firefighter, called for U.S. authorities to snatch Cabello after the outburst. Quote, "While the U.S. increases its presence in Venezuela, we should pick up thug Diosdado Cabello and bring him to justice so he can stop impeding the distribution of aid to those impacted by the earthquake." All right, on that note, we got to take another short break. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking. Remember, the impromptu poll still going on. How proud are you to be an American? On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the proudest, 1 being the least. We'll be right back.
I had to pack up all my things. I had to leave my home. And I never knew where I was going next. It felt like I never even had a say. But then you came along.
Change a child's story. There's a child in foster care waiting for a volunteer like you. Learn how you can help at nationalcasagal.org.
Make this summer event. Drive home a Ram 1500 and save over $6,400. Plus, get 2.9% for 72 months or 4.9% for 84. Or save $9,000 on a Ram 2500 Tradesman. And this comes with the best powertrain warranty in the business. 10 years, 100,000 miles. Or save over $7,400 on 3 remaining 25 Jeep Grand Cherokees. And just announced, go topless and save $7,400 on a 26 Jeep Wrangler. As always, get the highest trade-in values. Period. Chilson Wilcox. Selling cars a different way. The right way.
We are the keepers of the wild, America's original and most invested conservationists. For more than 80 years, we've been committed to conserving wildlife and the natural landscapes that define our nation. From rugged alpine ridgelines to peaceful tall grass prairies, we've supported the conservation of more than 36 million acres of American wildlands. Our funding has led to cleaner water, fresher air, and improved wildlife habitat. From abundant fish and waterfowl populations to robust deer and elk herds, nothing is more important than maintaining wild spaces for adventurers to explore and wildlife to thrive. We are America's hunters and target shooters, stewards of the American outdoors.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Yesterday, Trump called on gasoline retailers to lower prices immediately. They're too high considering the oil is now at $68 a barrel and heading south. The retailers must quickly react to this statement and do what they know is right. Drop your price for our great American people. He warned price gouging is totally illegal and retailers will face big problems if they don't lower prices. Start targeting around the $2.50 a gallon number, and California should stop charging such heavy taxes on their gasoline. Soon the tax will be higher than the product itself, and the U.S. will not stand for it, nor will the people of California who are being abused by these ridiculous taxes and by their own government. Yesterday, he also, the president, unveiled a golden gift to the White House for his 250th birthday, a decorative golden eagle attached to the Truman balcony at the White House. It's unclear who the gift is from or what the 11 stars around the red, white, and blue shield in front of the eagle represent. The White House has yet to respond on that. Oh, also a couple of quick updates as we move fast to get to the Supreme Court. Erica Kirk, Charlie Kirk's widow, and his parents are expected to attend a week-long hearing in court next week for accused killer Tyler Robinson. Close friends of the family are also slated to be present for the hearing in Utah that is scheduled to kick off Monday morning and continue through the end of the week. The 23-year-old alleged gunman is facing a preliminary hearing where prosecutors will lay out their case for Judge Tony Graff as the jurist decides whether there's enough evidence for Robinson to face trial. A preliminary hearing is an alternative to seeking a grand jury indictment. It could feature graphic imagery of the public assassination that happened in front of a crowd of thousands while Kirk was speaking at Utah Valley University in Orem. Robinson, who could face the death penalty if convicted, hasn't entered a plea yet. So that's just an update. Yesterday, House Republicans unveiled a plan to combine President Trump's long-sought election integrity legislation, the Save America Act, with a must-pass defense policy bill. House Speaker Mike Johnson told The Hill, we're going to pass a MIRV, or what's better known as a merge onto the rule. So what that means is when Republicans vote for the rule, they'll be voting not just for the National Defense Authorization Act and everything else in there, but they'll be voting to merge onto that, the Save America Act we passed back in February. So that will send both of those rules together over to the Senate. And so if any Republicans choose to vote against the rule, they'll be voting against that outcome. The House Rules Committee advanced the $1.1 trillion NDAA and the gambit to attach the Save America Act to it Monday night. The top Democrat on the rules panel, Representative James McGovern, said he expects the Senate to remove the Save America Act from the NDAA and the defense bill if it clears the full House. The Senate will just strip the Save Act out. There's a 0% chance Save ends up in the NDAA because of this rule today. All right, the Supreme Court. Now, isn't it interesting? I mean, Cory Booker on Monday said the Supreme Court is corrupt and compromised. The left, the Democrats, have created a scenario where they're demeaning the court at every turn. Yet we see the response yesterday from the court, and you have many split decisions going against Trump. So how is it that this is just a Supreme Court that is full of loyalists? And, I mean, trust me, if the numbers were the other way, if there were more Democrats and conservatives, you would not have these decisions going the way that I think a lot of Republicans were upset about. You just wouldn't. Democrats are very good, or the more liberal justices are more good at sticking with each other. But Cory Booker, who's famous for standing for a very long time and talking, said, "We have a corrupt and compromised court in a way we've never seen in American history, continuing to make decisions that pull power away from everyday Americans, taking away their reproductive rights to control their body, pulling away their voting rights. More recently, when they tried to access the court to get to sue big corporations like Monsanto and Bayer, it just recently, in the last days, pulled away their power to be able to successfully fight against corporations. Now here they are again, making a decision that will benefit the wealthy and the powerful against the people because they think about the independent agencies." Why am I going through that? That's Cory Booker. But it's corrupt and compromised. Yet if you look at the takeaway, let's look at these votes. The Supreme Court handed President Trump, this is coming from CNN, a significant win by allowing him to remove the leaders of once independent federal agencies at will. Ooh, painting it as scary. Now, there was a split decision on presidential powers. The Supreme Court handed down 2 opinions at the same time on Monday on the firing of government officials. One that was a loss for Trump and the other that was a win. How can there be any losses for Trump from the Supreme Court? I don't understand it. Because to hear the politicians that are calling for expanding the Supreme Court, if you hear from them, this is nothing but a group of loyalists that will never waver from Trump. So it'll always be a 6-3 decision. Right? I mean, that's what I was told. The more significant decision, decided 6-3 along conservative liberal lines, centered on Rebecca Kelly Slaughter, whom Trump fired from the Federal Trade Commission last year despite a federal law that requires presidents to show cause, such as malfeasance, before booting commissioners. Trump had argued that, as the head of the executive branch, he should have the power to control the leaders of independent agencies within the federal government, and that the law intended to shield those officials from removal violated separation of powers principles. Writing for the majority, Chief Justice John Roberts said subordinates who exercise the president's power are subject to removal by him. Then and only then can they remain accountable to the president and the president to the people. The second case, dealing with Cook, also touched on the president's ability to remove an official, but under different circumstances. In that case, Trump attempted to dump Cook based on allegations she committed mortgage fraud. The president announced the fire. Anyway, we don't have to go through all that. The Supreme Court's conservative majority could have taken a more limited way out of the Slaughter case. It could have ruled, for instance, that the power of the FTC has grown so vast since it was created in 1914 that it no longer qualified as agency that could be independent from the leader of the executive branch. That should be. All right, this is getting a little too wonky for us, isn't it? Trump versus Cook, that fight will continue, though Cook won her battle in the fight over Trump's ability to fire her. Whether she wins the ultimate war over her job remains an open question, and one that is likely to return to the Supreme Court in the future. And what else do we have? Mail-in ballot ruling that angered Trump. We'll talk about that. And Trump was punished in the pocketbook. The Supreme Court began handing down its opinions. It declined to take up Trump's appeal in the Carroll case. Per its normal practice, the court did not explain its reasoning, and no justice publicly dissented. The court's decision means the president will now have to pay Carroll the $5 million, which was awarded to her several years ago by a jury in New York after it found that Trump defamed her when he claimed she made up her story that he sexually assaulted her in the mid-1990s. Trump transferred $5.5 million to a court-controlled account in 2023 following the jury verdict, so Carroll is likely to receive the cash relatively quickly. We're going to talk about a little bit more on this. I don't want to spend too much time on the Supreme Court, but there's enough that we should be talking about it. So stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Big Fox 10 p.m. News is the first primetime local news for the Twin Tiers. Our reporters, Haley and Dante, scour the Southern Tier to bring you up-to-date news regarding local businesses, economics, and how national decisions impact our area. If you're not near a TV, don't worry. You can also catch our 10 p.m. news live on WYDCTV.com/livestream. Don't miss Big Fox 10 p.m. news on WYDC, on TV, or our website.
Hey, backseat passengers. What's your excuse for not buckling up?
Babe, put your seatbelt on.
The number one excuse?
It's just a short trip.
You know what else is a short trip? From the back seat to the windshield. Backseat passengers who don't buckle up are twice as likely to die in a crash as those who do. So instead of making excuses, make your life longer. Buckle up. Every trip, every seat.
Did you know we waste as much as 40% of all the food we produce globally? Did you also know that each year, millions of acres of wildlife habitat are plowed over, and billions of gallons of water is guzzled up to produce that food? And your wallet is taking a hit too. Americans toss out more than $382 billion worth of food per year. That's a lot of waste. But did you know that there are simple things you can do to help? And spread the word that food should never be trash. Visit us at wwf.earth/foodwaste.
Hello there, I'm meteorologist Brandon Weathers. We do have some shower and thunderstorm potential into the later part of our Tuesday. Before that happens, temperatures pushing toward 93. We'll have lingering storms overnight with temperatures bottoming out only in the low 70s. Then well into the 90s on Wednesday with more thunderstorm potential, 99 and sunshine on Thursday, maintaining some heat over 4th of July weekend with additional showers and thunderstorms, which
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. A lot of comments here. I love it. Let's get right to it. If you are just joining us, we're doing a little impromptu poll and that's not what all the comments are about, but there's so many polls that have been coming out about people not being proud of the country and these type of things before America 250. We're just doing an impromptu one on a scale of 1 to 10. Where do you rank your patriotism on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the most patriotic, 1 being not at all, I guess. And this is in reference to something else. What a bunch of nonsense that the French mayor, a deputy mayor, spews regarding global warming. For at least the last month, probably longer, in this area we have been below average temperatures. I knew it would only be a matter of time before the sky is falling ding-dongs would point to a week of above average temperatures to cry and spout off about global warming. Where's Climate Fact Friday Bob when you need him? It's been so long since we have heard from him, I've almost forgotten his name. Yeah, we haven't heard from him. I hope everything's all right, Bob. If you're out there, it's okay. We don't want to put the pressure on you to have to come up with a Climate Fact Friday every Friday, but we hope you're doing well. All right, continuing. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning. I'm proud to be a survivor of BDS, Biden derangement syndrome, from the inoculation of the Trump administration. I'm proud of America and its citizens and their ability to rebound from almost anything. I wasn't proud during the Biden reign. I was embarrassed, and on a scale of 1 to 10, I was a -1. Now I'm a solid 10. So yes, Frank, I'm especially proud of America under President Trump, but also afraid of the left pulling America towards being a corrupt dictatorship after he is gone. Thank you very much. So we'll put you down as a 10 on that. Comment from a different viewer. The 11 stars, this was on the eagle that was on the Truman balcony at the White House that Trump said was a gift. The 11 stars could possibly have been a gift from the South, being that 11 states seceded from the Union. I'm a 3 on the proud to be an American poll. I have not allowed Trump's shenanigans to sway the way I feel about the U.S. Thank you very much. 3, that's low. Comment from a different viewer. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning. Biblically, pride is a sin. And when you see how the left uses the word, it has lost any true meaning anyway. The better word to use is grateful. I'm grateful to be an American, where I'm free to wake up and be thankful, or free to whine about something. However, most of my whining comes from living among ungrateful leftists. But I'm also free to ignore them as well, and for that I'm grateful. I'll give America and, frankly speaking, a solid 10. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. A comment from a different viewer. You could put me down for 10. Frank, have a great day. Well, thank you very much, and you have a great day as well. Aren't these nice? We've got some other ones coming in, so our kind of impromptu poll. Here's another one. Okay, I'm a 7 out of 10. All right, so you're changing your 3 to a 7. Okay, I like it. I like it. Okay, I'm gonna update yours so when we go through it later, I will read it properly. All right. We'll get to some more comments here in just a moment. Now, the Supreme Court did rule that ballots arriving after Election Day can be counted. That's a big win for the Democrats. Again, I don't understand how there's possibly a 5-4 ruling when we're told that the conservatives on the bench are just loyal pawns to President Trump. So this makes no sense. It saw Chief Justice John Roberts and conservative Amy Coney Barrett side with their liberal peers in concluding that nothing in federal law requires all ballots to be collected by Election Day. The framers recognized the difficulty of crafting election laws applicable to every probable change in the situation of the country, Barrett wrote. So instead of constitutionalizing election law, they decided that a discretionary power over election needed to be lodged somewhere. Suffice it to say that that the power was not lodged in the court. The Election Day statutes say nothing about ballot receipt, and we cannot add the words Congress chose. Now, I think Joel Pollack, writing for the New York Post, had a very good point on this, that the Supreme Court surprised observers by allowing states to count ballots that arrive after Election Day. But just because something is constitutional doesn't make it right or smart. Now, the system that this all led to has made California notorious for their delays. We saw that with the LA mayor's election. And for election night leads that turn into painful defeats in close races by the time the mail-in ballots are counted. The very idea that ballots can be counted if they arrive after Election Day creates suspicion. Why wouldn't political campaigns just wait to see how many votes they need to make up after election night, then slip through as many ballots as they needed to make up the difference? That is supposed to be impossible, since ballots still have to be postmarked by Election Day to be counted. And because of security around ballot boxes, still, it's not as if California is a stranger to fraud, and the stakes are high enough that some activists might just try their luck. The court's majority opinion, written by Justice Amy Coney Barrett, cited narrow originalist grounds that the Constitution requires the day of which the electors shall give the votes to be the same throughout the United States, but says nothing about the day for receipt. The dissent by Justice Samuel Alito states allowing absentee ballots to pour in over the days and weeks after Election Day, by which point preliminary election returns are being publicly reported, creates greater opportunity for fraud and risks further undermining the public's confidence in election integrity. Justice Barrett acknowledges that problem, but says that policy arguments are properly directed to legislatures, not the courts. So it's up to the legislatures and the voters to restore trust in the American voting system. President Donald Trump is pushing Congress to pass the Safeguard American Voter Eligibility, or Save America Act. He may yet find the votes. Regardless, in California, a ballot initiative to require voter ID has a real chance of passing in November. The courts are not coming to our rescue. The fate of democracy is in our hands. We should not miss the opportunity to make a difference. So it underlines the need for voter ID. And we got to take a break. Stay with us. We're moving fast and furious this morning. We'll be right back with your comments and much more after this.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
Looking for a meaningful day trip close to home? Visit the historic Elmira Prison Camp, one of the most significant Civil War sites in the North. Walk the grounds, stand where history happened, discover powerful stories of courage, sacrifice, and survival that shaped our nation. Whether you're a history enthusiast, a family looking to learn together, or simply exploring the Finger Lakes region, we offer an experience you won't forget. Plan your visit today at elmiracivilwar.org. Preserve, discover, remember.
There have always been a few, ready to fight and win. Since 1775, these few have been Marines, and they come from across this land to defend the future of our nation. This year, our Corps celebrates 250 years, and Marines are proud to serve this country, each other, and all that is still to come for America.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio on Marcus Street in Corning. We got another, what would you say, a vote? No, another comment on our impromptu poll asking you how proud you are to be an American on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the most, 1 being the least. Definitely a 10. Love this country and all it provides. Thank you very much. We're adding that to the list. And Ken writes in, come on, man. The Dems have to expand the court. The conservatives on the court vote for what they believe is constitutional. They need more judges that vote in lockstep with the Democrats if they are ever going to fundamentally change this country. We are never going to actually achieve a dictatorship in America if conservatives keep getting in the way. Thank you, Ken. Very good point. Yeah, but here we have a decision that, like you said, they're basing it on the Constitution. Is great, but when the next decision comes out that the Democrats don't like, it'll be right back to stacking the core and calling them pawns for Trump. But the Supreme Court's decision Monday affirming Trump's right to fire Federal Trade Commission members opens a door for him to finally dismantle the deep state once and for all. In doing so, the court struck down an almost century-old federal law that violated the separation of powers and prevented the president from firing members of the Federal Trade Commission except for cause such as malfeasance. The precedent-setting case arose. We don't have to go through the history of it. Trump will now be able to wield presidential control, as he should be able to, over more than 24 quasi-independent regulatory agencies. The 6 justices got this case exactly right, said the New York Post editorial board. Yet Trump shouldn't limit himself to the heads of such agencies. This month, he issued an executive order stripping for cause protections for several thousand federal employees and policy-influencing positions. Good. That move can give him the right to fire them at any time, a power the president should surely have. Alas, too many of the, let me try that again, I didn't know if I want to say over or other. Too many of the other 2 million executive branch employees, yes, 2 million executive branch employees enjoy far too much shielding from civil service and other laws and regulation. Trump needs to keep up the pressure, fight those rules, and ferret out his enemies, those refusing to implement his directives or actively undermining them, as many have. And we saw that a lot in his first term. We're seeing it still today. Indeed, the deep state, the swamp, Trump vowed to drain even before taking office for his first term, has stood firm throughout both of the president's terms. Never mind that he was duly elected by voters expecting his administration to carry out his promises. And sadly, especially in the first term, we had people in his administration directly in his cabinet that were actively pursuing a different agenda. But in this case, you have nameless, faceless bureaucrats who never had to get voted on, trying to thwart the president's agenda, knowing that they're smarter than MAGA, smarter than Trump. These resistors represent an unelected bureaucracy impervious to voters, a major roadblock to democratic rule and a clear violation of the Constitution's intent. Roberts and the 5 other justices in the majority just restored a modicum of democracy and reminded Americans that elections have consequences. Trump should see the ruling as an invitation to doing what he's long promised and finally slay the deep state monster. Jonathan Turley, who we talk about his legal opinion a lot, will tell you what he had to say about it as well. Keep those comments, keep those poll numbers coming in. The question: how patriotic are you on a scale of 1 to 10? 10 being the most, 1 being the least, because everybody else has polls out there. We're doing a Frankly Speaking poll this morning. We'll carry it on until Thursday, as obviously we'll be off for July 4th weekend. All right, on Friday. Stay with us. We'll be right back after this.
Small businesses are the heart of America. Like you, these entrepreneurs started out with a dream and the drive to build a better life. If you have a small business idea to grow or challenge to face, you don't have to go it alone. Since 1964, SCORE has helped millions of entrepreneurs build their businesses. Today, they are the nation's largest nonprofit source of expert mentoring, resources, and education. Whether you're starting out, building back, or have worked at it for years, SCORE will match you with specialized mentors. Our thousands of volunteers provide the guidance and connections you need for free. Your success is waiting. SCORE is ready to help. Find a mentor today at score.org.
Hello there, I'm meteorologist Brandon Weathers. We do have some shower and thunderstorm potential into the later part of our Tuesday. Before that happens, temperatures pushing toward 93. We'll have lingering storms overnight with temperatures bottoming out only in the low 70s. Then well into the 90s on Wednesday with more thunderstorm potential, 99 and sunshine on Thursday. maintaining some heat over 4th of July weekend with additional showers and thunderstorms, which could help with
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. Beautiful morning on historic Marcus Street. And we are back. Well, you know, we've been talking about this lack of patriotism. I got some viewer comments. I just read, as I checked some of the articles throughout the morning, Nike has said that they underestimated the demand for the United States men's soccer team jerseys, the U.S. men's national team. So people want to have the American jerseys while they're watching soccer, watching football, FIFA right here on Fox, Big Fox. As of Friday, the adult home and away jerseys were either cleared out or only available in limited sizes at some of the major retailers. I'm not going to go through each one. The U.S. Soccer Store alone has sold twice as many jerseys online as it did through the same portion of the 2022 World Cup. And retailers said that the U.S. men's national team jerseys any day now could completely run out. There you go. Now, if you're not familiar, if you haven't been paying attention, the jerseys, they think they'll have some more by tomorrow, and tomorrow's a big day because that is when the U.S. enters the 32-team knockout stage with a matchup against Bosnia and Herzegovina. We tried. All right, comment from a viewer. Here's the issues I have with mail-in ballots. Has anyone else noticed that most of the mail delivered no longer comes with a postal mark? I don't imagine that many of these places that accept these mailed ballots throw out the ones that do not have a date for the date mailed. Good point. The fact alone provides the opportunity for voter fraud. Yes, there's a lot. First of all, if nothing else, we talk about when you look at California, look at what happened with Spencer Pratt in that race for LA mayor, where literally his opponent gives a concession speech where she's crying, and then weeks later, we learned that never mind, it's almost complete opposite. Pratt lost, and now the Democrat Socialist of America candidate won. Well, won that primary, now faces Karen Bass. So if nothing else, just the idea that it creates this idea of voter fraud. There's got to be a better way to handle it, so I'm with you. Jonathan Turley, and then in the next hour, we're going to talk about the Democrat Party, a couple things here to update you on. But Jonathan Turley says the Supreme Court allows Trump to say you're fired to meddling bureaucrats. Now, this you can find for yourself. We don't have time to get through all of it. I like Jonathan Turley's pieces, but they're very much in-depth because of his brilliant legal mind. But both the wins and losses yesterday, when it came to being able to fire one and not the other, is vintage Trump. The win because he was unrelenting in his assertion of inherent powers. The loss is part because he is equally unrelenting in his use of social media to carry out policy. Justice Roberts wrote that more than a tweet and conclusory note letter is demanded in such a removal of the Federal Reserve, which has also held a unique position in the government in prior cases. Again, the court has also cleared much of that away from the president, and he carried out a wholesale house cleaning of agencies. It is important to remember that what is good for the goose is good for the gander. If the next president is a Gavin Newsom or Kamala Harris, the same powers will be used to reverse these policies. The greatest danger, however, is the pledge of Democratic leaders to make the one impulsive change that could endanger the entire enterprise. Various Democrats have called for packing of the Supreme Court with an instant liberal majority. Such a move would destroy an institution that has served as a critical moderating element in our constitutional system for 250 years. Of course, Democrats did not balk at the court reversing long-standing precedent when the results aligned with their views. Now they would pack the court to force through an agenda currently considered unconstitutional, including reversing many of the decisions in the last 10 years. The truth is fully on display this week. The court has exercised considerable independence. That includes repeatedly ruling against and being repeatedly denounced by the president. And that's the point that I've been trying to make all morning long. But the Democrats still want us to stack the Supreme Court because they want their way, especially their unpopular positions that could never pass by vote. They want to force them through the court. Now, if you look here, as I've said, if the majority was liberals, if a 6-3 liberal majority, we would not be having this conference. Everything would go liberal. They would not be changing their opinion. Where in our case, conservatives very often will say, all right, I'm looking at this for a constitutional reason. We'll switch it. So the left will always be adherent to their policies, and we see some crazy opinions on what they've been saying, in their opinions, I should say. And on this, they're never going to change their opinion, where conservatives so often do. Now, again, if you are just joining us, we are doing a impromptu, frankly speaking, survey before we head into America 250. On a scale of 1 to 10, where is your pride in America? Where is your patriotism? Whatever word you want to use in America. 1 being the least, 10 being the highest you can feel. And the reason we do this is because Gallup and AP and Economist and YouGov and all these polls are coming out and saying that people are not happy with America. Well, we're going to see what, frankly speaking, viewers say. So 1 to 10, let me know. We'll be right back with hour number 2 after this.
Watch Big Fox News on YouTube.
When I have an asthma attack, I feel scared. Sometimes my parents have to take me to the hospital. I feel like a fish with no water.
You know how to react to their asthma attacks. Here's how to prevent them. Because even one attack is one too many.
You know that children growing up with poor air quality have smaller lungs and higher rates of asthma than children that grow up with good air quality. And unfortunately, poor communities have poor air quality. IQ Air Foundation is working to change this. Today, the IQ Air Foundation provides filtration technology to schools with poor air quality through our Clean Air for Kids program. Our goal is to help over 50,000 school children every year breathe over 90% cleaner air indoors, helping to level the playing field, reduce barriers to learning, reduce sick days, and increase test scores. Mitigating poor air quality is key to environmental justice. Help Clean Air for Kids reach more children at IQAirFoundation.org.
And we welcome you to hour number 2 of Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. We've had a lot of great discussions this morning. We're going to talk a little bit here about the Democrat Party and the repercussions over, well, just a week ago today from the primary election, what the Democrats are saying about essentially their future. We do have a few things here about Iran. Not a lot of breaking news. I know Iran signaled, I'm having trouble with that word this morning, commitment to the U.S. deal, but then warns that Tehran will defend decisively. Mutual understanding is a two-way street, said Iranian President Pezeshkian. If the American side adheres to the agreement, we will also fulfill our commitment. Our approach to unreasonable saber-rattling and baseless threats is to rely on rationality and human dignity in decision-making, while defending decisively and fearlessly when action is required. Now, we've got a few other things on this. I know that Witkoff and Kushner are heading to Qatar today for those Iran talks. We may get to that. But I wanted to mention three local stories, if you would just humor me for a moment. And then we will go, let's say four local stories. And then we're going to get to the Democrat Party and the primaries, because the primaries actually do tie in very heavily with New York. But first, and we had mentioned this all last week, so I had to give you the update. The Steuben County Legislature proudly recognized the town of Hornby on the occasion of its 200th anniversary, honoring 2 centuries of history, community, and service to the residents of Steuben County. During the June 22nd meeting of the Steuben County Legislature, Chair Kelly Fitzpatrick presented a proclamation commemorating Hornby's bicentennial and recognizing the town's enduring contributions since its founding in 1826. Reaching a bicentennial is a remarkable milestone, said county officials. The town of Hornby's rich history, commitment to its residents, and enduring community spirit are worthy of celebration. We congratulate the town on 200 years of achievement and look forward to its continued success for generations to come. The proclamation encourages all Steuben County residents to join in celebrating Hornby's past accomplishments while recognizing the vibrant future, that lies ahead. And we talked about it yesterday. I know Mark sent in a picture of him winning a trophy with his car. I heard that the overall Hornby celebration happening over the weekend was just a huge success. So congratulations. I know they put a lot of work into it. Very happy to see that. Also, Congressman Nick Langworthy announced more than $2.3 million in FAA grants for airport improvements around Western New York and the Southern Tier. Two affecting us directly. The Corning Painted Post Airport in Irwin received $185,895. That project expands existing transient aircraft apron by adding 870 square yards to bring the airport into conformity with current standards. It also rehabilitates 16,350 square yards of existing transient aircraft apron pavement to maintain the structural integrity of the pavement and to minimize foreign object debris. This grant funds Phase 1, which consists of design. And Elmira Corning Regional Airport received $2,038,181, and this project acquires and installs one new passenger boarding bridge to bring the airport into conformity with current standards. This grant funds the final phase, which consists of construction. Congressman Langworthy saying, I'm pleased to share that the 23rd Congressional District will receive a significant investment of more than $2.3 million to upgrade and modernize 3 of our regional airports. The other, if you're curious, was Akron Jessen Field. Our regional airports are critical to commerce and emergency response as well as recreational travel, and it's vital that we make the necessary investment to keep them operating safely and efficiently. As chairman of the House Aviation Safety Caucus, I will always fight to bring these resources home to our small rural communities. So thank you to the congressman. And it was announced on Saturday, and this is very early in the process, very, very early. And I want to clarify that because in Elmira, the race for mayor will not be until next year. But we received this press release. Independent mayoral candidate Julian Raven officially launched his campaign for mayor of Elmira with a presentation of the Elmira Declaration of Resilience, a civic call to renewal inspired by the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. The presentation centered on what Raven described as one of the greatest declarations in human history, drawing upon the courage of America's founders. He reminded his audience that the American Republic itself began with a pledge, the Mayflower Compact, united strangers through a solemn covenant. The Declaration of Independence bound 56 men to a cause greater than themselves, pledging their lives, their fortune, and their sacred honor. Raven said those men changed history because they were willing to bind themselves to a vision. 250 years later, can we do anything less for Elmira? Encouraged residents to learn. Looking all around here. Raven, again, Julian Raven declaring that he's running as an independent mayoral candidate for next year, again, next year's election, saying that he encourages residents, Julian Raven, to learn more about his vision, download the full Elmira Declaration of Resilience, and get involved in the campaign by going to his website, Raven for Mayor. That's F-O-R, Raven for Mayor, ravenformayor.com. The campaign's next organizational meeting is July 16th at 6 p.m. at the Steele Memorial Library. So just that little breaking news. And one last thing on New York. Bruce Blakeman, gubernatorial candidate, announced yesterday that he is endorsing Anthony Costantino for Congress in New York's 21st, saying Anthony Costantino had a rousing victory in the Republican primary and is incredibly important to New York and America that we elect Anthony to succeed Elise Stefanik in Congress. Anthony will bring common sense, business judgment, and American values to the halls of Congress. I endorse Anthony Costantino and look forward to working with him on issues important to New Yorkers. That was Bruce Blakeman. Okay, there we go. All right, if you are just joining us this morning, we're doing an impromptu, frankly speaking, poll. It seems like everybody else is jumping on the poll bandwagon to make sure that you know that everybody's upset with the country. And I've got a comment here from Ken that I didn't read. I apologize, Ken. I got caught up in all those other stories. But so we're doing this impromptu poll on a scale of 1 to 10. And you can use whatever term you want to. I know someone didn't like the term proud necessarily because of how that's been misused lately. So you want to say patriotism, you want to say gratefulness, like that viewer said. So on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, 1 being the least, where does America stand in your heart? Ken writes in, only the low information sheeple would think that it isn't the greatest country in the world. All you have to do is pay attention to conditions and freedoms in other countries, and you have to come to the conclusion that this country is a 100 plus. The Dems pretend that America is damaged goods, all in an effort to change it for their self-centered agenda. That's it really is. When you see the Democrat Socialist of America candidates that are running, they don't hide it anymore. The dirty little secret of wanting to fundamentally change this country is not a secret. I mean, you probably saw the headline that DAC, I'm just going to call her DAC because I have a little trouble pronouncing her name, kind of like AOC. I'll get there. Just I got to butcher it a few more times before I feel confident with it. I always only read it. I never really hear it that much. But DAC, there was a piece of CNN saying that she liked in the past posts about dictatorships and communism, and you read that and you go, that's not surprising. I would expect that. But we're going to talk about it in just a moment. Comment from a viewer, Elise who? Just kidding, meaning Elise Stefanik. Yeah, what a shame. What a great congressperson. But she's moving on, I'm sure, to great things. Very intelligent, clear-minded person. Comment from a viewer to keep this poll going. 10, USA, starting the chant out there. And I'm sure if we wanted to, we could do that chant a lot better than Governor Hochul trying to start a Buffalo Bills chant, that's for sure. Hey, this is weird. Former First Lady, Jill Biden's memoir had a brief run atop the New York Times bestsellers list before tumbling out of the rankings just weeks later. This has fueled online speculation that its lofty debut owed more to bulk book orders than sustained reader demand. So it's an idea, if you buy them in bulk, you put your number up there high, and you give them to donors. You see that often where if you donate now to the Democrat Party, you get a book. View from the East Wing, which was published by Simon & Schuster, debuted at #1 on the New York Times hardcover nonfiction list on June 21st with a dagger symbol indicating that retailers reported some bulk purchases. By the following week, it had slipped to #3 and has since fallen off the list altogether. The sharp drop has sparked claims on social media that the book reached the top through orchestrated buying campaigns instead of real consumer demand. Former 538 founder Nate Silver was among the most prominent critic, saying that the memoir debuted at #1 due to astroturfed bulk orders, before noting that it was completely off the list 2 weeks later and calling such a rapid decline very rare. Anyway, I don't want to go through any more of that. Okay. Oh, by the way, as if we didn't already know this, but I think it's worth reiterating this point over and over again. On MSN Now yesterday, on a program called The Last Word. Now, remember, MS Now used to be MSNBC. Representative Madeline Dean from Pennsylvania, Democrat from Pennsylvania, was asked, Congresswoman, if Democrats retake the majority in November's election, will they look into the dealings of Steve Witkoff and his dual role as being an envoy? Madeline Dean said, I'm sure we will. I'm sure that it is a responsible oversight that we will do. You've seen the recent reporting around Mr. Lutnick and Mr. Trump and their sons. We have to have oversight into the corruption, the cruelty, the rubble, and the rot that is this administration. I want to pivot and just tell you where I just came from, which is startlingly different. I just came from a dinner, again, bipartisan, Republicans and Democrats. We were invited to the embassy of Qatar, and the ambassador of Qatar, Oman, and Saudi Arabia were there talking about the region and the change in the region as a result of this war in Iran. And they, to a person, said, we don't want to look back. We are where we are, but we want to be responsible partners for peace, responsible partners around Israel. They want to work from the basis of this memorandum of understanding. #1, to get the Strait open fully, and #2, to be sure that Iran does not get a nuclear weapon. So Trump will be investigated on corruption if Democrats win the midterm. Not a surprise. And that's why the midterms are so important. Also, of some of these, just about the Democrats in general, before we talk about the Democrat Socialists of America, I know I have to take a break. Well, you know what? I have to take a break. I keep running late this morning. So why don't we take our break? Keep those comments. Keep your survey answers coming in on a scale of 1 to 10. Where do you stand on America? 1 being, I don't know, I guess don't like it at all. 10 being proud or grateful or have love of country, patriotism, however you want to word it. You get the idea. So keep those poll numbers coming in. We got a nice little survey going. Also, your comments We'll read them when we return. Stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
What better way to start or end every day than relaxing in your very own Hesselson's hot tub? Massage therapy, relaxation, stress reliever, pain management, soothing muscles, or just spending time with a loved one. Hot water therapy really does make every day better. Hesselson's has been a part of this great community for over 70 years, still being locally owned and operated. So make the drive to Hesselson's and start making your path to a better life today. And after 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
Make this the summer event. Drive home a Ram 1500 and save over $6,400. Plus, get 2.9% for 72 months or 4.9% for 84. Or save $9,000 on a Ram 2500 Tradesman. And this comes with the best powertrain warranty in the business. 10 years, 100,000 miles. Or save over $7,400 on 3 remaining 25 Jeep Grand Cherokees. And just announced, go topless and save $7,400 on a 26 Jeep Wrangler. As always, get the highest trade-in values, period. Chilson Wilcox, selling cars a different way, the right way.
When a child is fighting a critical illness, one truth touches us all. Every child deserves a childhood. A wish sparks a ripple of hope that transforms communities far and wide. And when we grant wishes together, we create a movement of kindness, strength, and unity. Become a wishmaker today and be part of a journey that truly changes lives.
Hello there, I'm meteorologist Brandon Weathers. We do have some shower and thunderstorm potential into the later part of our Tuesday. Before that happens, temperatures pushing toward 93. We'll have lingering storms overnight with temperatures bottoming out only in the low 70s. Then well into the 90s on Wednesday with more thunderstorm potential, 99 and sunshine on Thursday, maintaining some heat over 4th of July weekend with additional showers and thunderstorms, which
the Frankly Speaking roof cam. Look at that beautiful view this morning. The clouds. What a perfect summer morning. As we broadcast, thank you to Boss Security for bringing us that amazing view. As we broadcast live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street. And quoting a comment. Oops, where'd it go? Comment from a viewer. This would be funny if it wasn't so important. Did you happen to see that South Africans are protesting against immigration because of crime, corruption, etc.? Yes, it's a major story. Reuters is reporting on it. South African cities are shuttered as anti-migrant protests sparking fear. Thank you for passing. I did not see that this morning, though, so I appreciate you passing that along. Okay. Oh, we had another survey response. 10 all the way. Thank you very much. 10 on your scale of how proud you are to be an American. We're doing our own, frankly speaking, impromptu poll, as so many other outlets have decided to take up that mantle and show you a poll where people are upset with America. Okay. Did you see that the Justice Department has launched an investigation into Senator Ruben Gallego, Democrat from Arizona, alleging that he paid for luxury outings, family trips with campaign donations? The DOJ probe into possible campaign finance violation by the potential 2028 Democratic presidential. What? Is his name, is Senator Gallego actually on the list for Democrat presidential candidates? Anyway, it was first reported by Axios, so apparently the Axios reported there's a lot of Democrats that don't want him in there, apparently. Stems from a whistleblower complaint out of Southern California. News of the investigation surfaced just hours after the Senate Ethics Committee rejected a complaint filed against the Arizona Democrat, accusing him of campaign finance violations and sexual misconduct. A Gallego spokesperson said President Trump is targeting Senator Gallego, while the most weaponized Department of Justice in history is turning a blind eye to Trump's unprecedented corruption. It's the least surprising news of the week that this comes immediately after the Senate Ethics Committee cleared Senator Gallego of right-wing smears pushed by this administration. Last week, Politico reported that Gallego tapped into a joint campaign account with his ex-buddy, disgraced former Representative Eric Swalwell, to attend the Super Bowl in Arizona with his wife back in 2023. The Swalego Victory Fund, they called it, combining both Gallego and Swalwell's name, set up in October of 2022, held a fundraiser at the big game and spent over $37,000 between tickets and meals. Federal Election Commission records also show Gallego has spent $18,000 from his political action committee and campaign coffers on child care since 2019, including a $400 payment to his mother-in-law for babysitting. Gallego also took his family on trips to Disney World and Disneyland, where he participated in pack retreats. Records show that Disneyland excursion cost close to $1,500 for accommodations, not including flights. A source familiar with Gallego's spending habits told Politico, he just spends his campaign account like it's his personal slush fund. He's using campaign cash to live a luxury lifestyle. Gallego is adamant that he didn't break any campaign finance rules, specifically noting the FEC has stated that child care may be reimbursed. Okay. Now, in Graham Plantner, who we haven't talked about in a little bit, Andy O'Brien, the communications director for the Maine AFL-CIO, the union, is a statewide federation of 160 local unions, posted on social media suggesting Democrats who refuse to support Senate nominee Graham Plantner, the man with admitted Nazi tattoo, who said some radical, disgusting things in the past. We know all about him. Questions about past relationships, also as well as sending graphic text while married. That if Democrats refuse, this is the head of the AFL-CIO, the union, 160 local unions, Andy O'Brien, saying that if you don't support Plantner as a Democrat, you should face execution after a revolution. O'Brien shared a link to a Hill opinion piece titled, "I'm a Democrat strategist. I won't stay silent about Graham Plantner." It was by Democrat strategist Lori Watkins. Watkins wrote that a career spent fighting for Democratic causes does not mean blindly supporting every candidate with a D by their name. O'Brien's response, again, Andy O'Brien, the communications director for the Maine AFL-CIO, was brutal, saying political consultants like Watkins should be first up against the wall when the revolution comes. Before supporting Plantner, O'Brien was known for publicly calling out people he accused of holding extremist or neo-Nazi views. Kind of interesting. He would call that out now, not so concerned about it. After facing backlash, O'Brien said the post was meant as a joke, referencing a science fiction novel, not a call for violence. He apologized to anyone offended and said he never intended to suggest harming people over their political views. That's not what I said. I was making a joke about people from away mansplaining our state because they summered here. It was a reference to a quote in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Douglas Adams that said, "I apologize to anyone who's upset by this stupid joke. I never meant to imply any violent intent against people I disagree with politically. I deplore political violence." Wow. Oh, also we see, because it's really interesting, the infighting, and I know the media is not reporting it as infighting on the left, on the Democrat Party, but obviously, clearly there is. And Liel Lebovitz called out a story that we had mentioned yesterday on this broadcast. But it's been a rough week for Scott Wiener, the California state senator who is hoping to replace Nancy Pelosi, who is retiring in Congress later this year, was headed to San Francisco's Trans March last Friday. We mentioned this, where a group of radicals screamed at him. They had their faces covered, yelling just anti-Semitic statements, a lot of choice language. They accused the uber progressive, because remember, he's far left lawmaker, himself a gay man and one of the state's most effective legislators on LGBTQ issues, of being terrible on Gaza. At some point, one of the thugs taunted Wiener, who is Jewish, about having Israeli handlers, was the exact quote. A video of the ambush shows Wiener looking stunned and eventually hurrying out of the park without attending the march. He said in a statement, "When opposition and disagreement transition to harassment, including cornering me, touching me, or trying to physically bully me out of a public event, that crosses a line. We're living in a time when violence is all too often threatened or used against people in public life. In San Francisco, we're better than that." Except that, as a video of the assault so clearly shows, San Francisco isn't better than that, and neither, sadly, are the rest of us. Because more, maybe, than any other scuffle in recent memory, The assault on Weiner showed just how truly all-around broken our political culture has become. Because you look at the thugs themselves that were attacking him. I can't use the language that they were using. And I don't want to quote exactly what they said. But following widespread condemnation from California Jews of all stripes, Weiner stepped down as a co-chair of the state's Jewish caucus. None of that was nearly enough for the hordes cornering him on Friday, because pro-Palestine is simply a slightly more pleasant term for rabid Jew hatred, this anti-Semitism. The goons poking their fingers at Weiner weren't protesting any of his policies or positions. They were simply having fun attacking him as Jewish, just as their spiritual ancestors in Berlin had done not even a century ago. And they're hardly outliers, from New York's mayor, who has referred to pro-Israel advocates as monsters, to our soon-to-be Congresswoman, Daraliza Avila-Chevalier, DAC, who attended a pro-Hamas rally on October 8th, 2023. The Democratic Party is now the party of bigotry, violence, and hate, which sadly doesn't mean that Weiner himself is an innocent victim here. Cowardice and complacency aren't minor character flaws, and it doesn't take a particularly brilliant student of history to realize that you can never ever appease the revolutionaries. All you can do is buy yourself a little more time before they put you too, to use that person supporting Plantner, up against the wall. Weiner learned this the hard way on Friday, but scores of Jewish Democrats, all of them remarkably silent in the face of hostile takeovers of their party by a band of maniacs, are still shying away from confrontation. If you look at it, even people like Hakeem Jeffries out there congratulating them, now realizing that they have to kind of coddle up, and boy, that's not a good place to be, because they're going to go after you. They've already admitted they're going to go after Hakeem Jeffries. They're going to go after Chuck Schumer. They're, as this piece says, revolutionaries. Finally, watching Weiner flee, haggard and humiliated, too many conservatives cheered, delighted by the spectacle of the left eating its own. This too must stop. We only have two political parties in America, and when one's consumed by the sort of savages who think nothing of roughing up an opponent simply because he is Jewish, we're in deep, deep trouble. I wouldn't say there's a celebration. I would say there's a real concern. That's where the one line I would disagree with Leo Leibovitz. It was not a celebration of that. I think even people that obviously would never support Mr. Weiner would still say that that was wrong, that that's a scary place the Democrat Party's in. Just like we said that DAC, her account had favorable references to communist leaders and Marxism, and even CNN forced to report on this. But in the past, she said horrible things about, numerous groups. But she said such as seize the means of production. She had issues with interracial marriage, very strange, and they go through all of her texts. You can find this for yourself. I think I got it linked from Empire Report, but I think it was originally on CNN. But when they're asked, I got to take a break. We're going to talk about that in a moment. Well, Pramila Jayapal was asked about these outlandish tweets and posts that she had made or liked. What her thoughts on that were, we'll tell you when we return. Keep those comments, keep those waves coming in. As we said, someone suggested a poll here. We've got a pretty good amount of numbers coming in. On a scale of 1 to 10, where do you stand on patriotism? Are you a 1, very little patriotism, very little love of this country, or are you extremely proud at 10? We've gotten across-the-board answers since everybody else from Gallup to AP doing polls. We're going to do an impromptu Frankly Speaking one. So send those in, but we got to take a short break. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Dear Soccer, with Toyota's all-star lineup, everyone's game. From goalies to forwards and all their fans. Jump in, kick back, and let's go. Toyota. Lease the tech-savvy Corolla with 0 down or the all-hybrid Camry with 0 down and first month's payment due at signing. Find yours at Toyota.com. Toyota. Let's go places.
What's there of your love? Like the colors of spring, kids need all kinds of things to thrive. They need love, protection, and they need food. They need clean water and good hygiene to stay healthy. And young minds need books to develop and learn. But children everywhere lack access to what they need. And your support helps deliver food and resources to families that help their children bloom. So what's the color of your love? Show us.
The only more American
than apple pie and 4th of July is baseball. This year, WYDC is bringing you 25 New York Mets games free over the air this spring and summer. No fees and no subscription services. Just turn on WJKP 48.2 and grab a comfortable seat right at home to watch baseball history unfold. Make sure you don't miss a home run and tune into WJKP 48.2 to watch the New York Mets this MLB season. Let's go Mets!
Today's students are tomorrow's great thinkers and innovators.
What can this fall teach us about the way things move?
But right now, millions of kids go to schools that don't have the supplies they need just because of where they live. Donors Choose is a nonprofit that lets you support students and teachers in your community and beyond. You could supply a classroom like this one with a project. But what you're really giving is the moment that sparks a brighter tomorrow. Learn more at Donors Choose.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horses. What a picturesque view. Contact Boss Securities today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. A comment from a viewer. Delgado and all Democrats think that tax money, or in this case campaign donations, are to be used as their personal bank accounts to dispose of as they seem fit, and not necessary for the good of the country. This should be a huge red flag even to Democrats, and the fact that there are a plethora of other supporting examples of this waste attests that this misuse runs rampant among Democrats. Thank you very much. So Jayapal, Representative Pramila Jayapal, responded to past statements by DAC, Daralizia Avila Cavalar, that praised communism and Marxism by saying, quote, whatever labels you want to attach to it, whatever she said, I believe that we've got to understand that big tent means big tent, and voters have to be respected. And so are there going to be disagreements about language she may have used? And I'm not sure when that language was used. The campaign that I saw was very much about working people and what they want and deserve. She said that the reason that President Trump is using communism to describe social democrats is because he knows socialism is really popular. So he's trying to turn this into communism when he knows that the ideas that social democrats are running on, that progressives are running on, universal health care, universal child care, making sure that people get paid higher wages, those are incredibly popular. So he's trying to attach an ideology to it, a label that isn't correct. Wow, a lot we could dissect there. But big tent means big tent. So when you see the kind of anti-Semitism, because who was it that said that exact thing? That, it was the head of the Democrat Party. I can never remember his name, and I'm not doing that because I know that drives him crazy, that he's not better known. But he said that it's still Big Tent. Now, left-wing Democrat primary wins have posed a test for Jeffries' speakership, whether or not he will be Speaker if Democrats win back the House. Zohran Mamdani and his fellow Democrat socialists celebrated trios of insurgent leftist victories that rocked last week's House primaries in New York. So did congressional Republicans. In the days since, the GOP has gleefully speculated that a potential Democrat majority next year could be just as unruly as their own has been. This is coming from, I think it was a Wall Street Journal. With an ideological battle between liberals and moderates undermining possible speakership of Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries. Wow, this is a little bit early, but I like what House Speaker Mike Johnson called it. You can call it the Bolshevik Revolution of 2026. As the Republican Congressional Committee sent Jeffries a sympathy card and flowers, as you recall, I mentioned that last week. Jeffries and his Democrat allies have downplayed the tension, noting that their party held together a broad spectrum of members the last time they were in charge of the House from 2019 to 2023. Anyway, but as Kristen Flemings said, that Hakeem Jeffries handed himself over to the DSA on a plate, and the comrades will gladly eat him for breakfast. Hakeem Jeffries is rolling out the welcome mat for the people who want his head mounted on their trophy wall. Yes, because even the night of their victories, when they showed a picture of him on the big screen, everyone in the crowd was chanting, "You're next." On Saturday, the House Minority Leader offered a hearty welcome aboard to State Assembly members Claire Valdez and Mika Lasher, as well as congressional candidates Daralizia Avila Cavalar and Brad Lander, both progressive Democrats associated with the Democrat Socialists of America. All were backed by slick DSA kingmaker, Mayor Zohran Mamdani. Never mind that Democrats would classify immigration reform and a strong border as far-right extremism, because remember, Hakeem Jeffries put in his congratulatory post, we must decisively address the affordability crisis and crush far-right extremism, but it's pretty tough to crush the right flank when you are literally being eaten by a pack of lefty, loony socialists who don't believe in prisons or borders. Poles who think they are representing the people of Gaza, not New York City. And that's why I keep quoting Melissa Del Rosa, who was former Governor Cuomo's chief of staff, because I just think it's interesting the way she put it. The Democrat Socialists of America could never win if they were just on that line. So they've hijacked the Democrat Party and they become a parasite on the Democrat Party, is her argument. But continuing what Kristen Flemings had to say, if Jeffries can't see the insurgent party's plans for him, he's either blind or naive. But he can see it, and he's scared. After all, they've already started salting and seasoning him, preparing him for a DSA roast. At the DSA victory party last week, supporters were taunting Jeffries. As I mentioned, his face came up on the big screen just so they would taunt, saying, "You're next." It was jarring. As Kristen Flemings said, as the face came up of Hakeem Jeffries on the television, the group of pasty white, downwardly mobile socialists chanted, "You're next." It was jarring. Meanwhile, the Champaign socialist streamer Hassan Piker was taking aim at Representative Richie Torres, who kept hold of his district, sounding like a 80s wrestler cutting a promo. Richie Torres, I know you won tonight. I'll see you in 2 years, blank. I'm coming for you, Richie. Sit on that blanking seat for the next 2 years. I hope you remember that. Every day, every time there's a decision that you can make where you are pro-Israel, I hope you remember you better act right, Richie. Wow, yeah, she's right. That does sound like an 80s wrestling promo with just more cuss language. This is how the DSA views normal Democrats, as problems to purge and threaten. They want complete alliance to Palestine. They want it loud and they want it proud. Just today, the New York Post reported that even a party leader admitted the DSA's momentum last week was pushed by anti-Israel sentiment. We mentioned this yesterday. It's no longer a marbling of anti-Semitism. It is really one of the main running points, talking points. There's no appeasing this crowd, argues Fleming. Just ask Scott Wiener, as we had mentioned earlier, getting attacked, even though he's on what you would call the quote-unquote right side of every issues for the far left, except for that he hasn't been enough anti-Israel. Despite the messaging from Jeffries' soon-to-be colleagues, they don't want to advance an affordability agenda. They want to eat the rich, abolish ICE, and therefore borders. Their first order of business is to bring down prices for working people, but to get more of their isn't to bring down prices for working people, but to get more of their comrades elected. It's a naked power grab. And the worst of them all is DAC, Cavalier, who has spent her adult life in school. On X, she has literally bragged about wiping her greasy paws on the American flag. She doesn't believe in deportation or prison. In a deleted X account, she was praising Marx and Lenin. She co-founded Columbia University Apartheid Divest, which has called for the total eradication of Western civilization. This person's going to be in Washington, folks. And then there's Chris Murphy, who went on Meet the Press Sunday to plug his new book. He tiptoed too. Quote, I want us to be a big tent party. I mean, I've been saying this for years. I think that it's actually a sign of a party that is alive and growing when there's a contest of ideas inside that party. Well, not if one of those competing ideologies is socialism. With so many liberals screaming that the Dems moved too far to the left on social issues and immigration, the answer is to line dance even further to the left and repackage socialism as affordability. How about we all commit to cutting taxes and not throwing more and more money at useless programs like Mamdani's pledging $15 million for trans youth and millions promised to legal services for illegal aliens. But there are some Democrats drawing a line in the sand. Last week, 13 House Democrat members and candidates came together to pledge the promise to America. We are capitalists, not socialists, they wrote. Yet Jeffries is allowing himself to get pushed around. They'll be feasting on his carcass in no time. Yes, we got to take a break. But Mika Brzezinski blasted Chris Murphy for not denouncing Mamdani's backed New York City candidates. Yeah, because he tiptoed around it, where he said, because DAC called former President Joe Biden a rapist and a war criminal, and has questioned Israel's right to exist. So Murphy told MSN Now fill-in host Ryan Nobles, yeah, well, I mean, I'm not super familiar with that race. All I'm saying is this party has to have a real contest of ideas, and I just don't think our defense has worked. So I don't mind a contest of ideas. I will say, though, what binds together, I think, every Democrat candidate that is running, including the ones in New York, is that they are standing up to protect American democracy. And right now, the biggest threat to this country are not a handful of House candidates in New York. Okay. Scarborough said, this is what happened. This is what frightened Republicans do when confronted with horrid things Donald Trump has said. Now, Democrat senators are saying this about a congressional candidate who accused Joe Biden of rape. Stop it now. Memo to Democrats, call out crazy even when it's on your own side, especially when it's on your side. Voters will reward you for being better than Republicans, said Scarborough. Be better than Trump's cowards. Wow. Mika Brzezinski slammed the comments of gaslighting the American people. Voters are going to have to decide where the line is. What's the deal breaker? In this case, I think it's pretty clear. Some of these statements are complete deal breakers, and it's not hard to say. Brzezinski said one of the most frustrating things is when the people who repeatedly voted for President Trump act shocked about the cruelty of the mass deportations or act shocked about the tariffs, claiming they haven't been watching the news. That is the most gaslighting experience one can ever see, because pretending you haven't seen it is impossible. It's an ow. And now to see a Democrat doing it, and we both love Chris Murphy. We think he's a great guy and serves our country, but don't gaslight people. Got a little fighting going on. All right, we got to take a break. We're running a little bit late, but not too bad. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking, your comments. Keep your poll numbers coming in. Where do you stand on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, 1 being the lowest? Where do you stand in pride for our country? And we'll be right back with Frankly Speaking. Right? Yeah, after this.
Don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Watch news from the Twin Tiers and catch local events on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
Having a safe home is essential to many aspects of our lives. From a sense of community and safety, to physical and mental health, to economic security and independence. Most homes in our communities are not accessible and are not designed to accommodate the changes that come with age, including the risk of falling. The Older Adults Home Modification Program helps reduce the risk of falls, improves safety, and increases accessibility and independence. Through this program, Rebuilding Together works with older adults to provide no-cost preventative home repairs so our neighbors can safely age in place in the homes and communities they love. To learn more, visit rebuildingtogether.org/safeathome.
Kids time. Ask them how they're feeling. And listen.
The health class film guy isn't the best person to talk to your kid about vaping.
Got a few minutes?
You are. Talk to your child about vaping today.
Hello there, I'm meteorologist Brandon Weathers. We do have some shower and thunderstorm potential into the later part of our Tuesday. Before that happens, temperatures pushing toward 93. We'll have lingering storms overnight with temperatures bottoming out only in the low 70s. Then well into the 90s on Wednesday with more thunderstorm potential, 99 and sunshine on Thursday, maintaining some heat over 4th of July weekend with additional showers and thunderstorms.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back. Broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. We got another 10 USAs. We got another person, 10 on this scale of 1 to 10 on your love of country. We got a couple comments here. Let's see. Ken writes in, I think I'm going to change parties to the special, tremendous, unbelievably perfect, incredible Democrat Party, or for short, the stupid party, and put my hat in the ring for Dictator of America, DOA. My platform will be eliminate all law enforcement except the federal law enforcement agency, which I will control, eliminate prisons and the entire legal system, eliminate wage. All personal needs, including housing, food, clothing, will be free for all the taking. All monies originally paid as wages and corporate profits will be paid to the federal government. The only rules will be everyone has to work at a job given to them by the government, and they must worship me. If anyone doesn't adhere to those 2 rules, they won't break them a second time. I hope I can count on your vote. I wonder if this is enough of a fundamental change for the new Democrat Socialist Party. Thank you very much, Ken. Rick writes in, says, good morning, Frank. Good morning, Rick. 63% of Republicans state or nationwide believe the 2020 election was stolen from Donald Trump. You got to let me know where you got that. I just haven't seen that. We've been reading polls all week, so I want to see that 63%. They continue to believe this, although there is no data to support the position. This data also indicates that 37% of Republicans are pretty smart. Donald, you owe E. Jean Carroll $5 million. Pay up. Lisa Cook to remain at Fed, says the Supreme Court. Another loss for Trump. I don't understand. Someone's got to explain to me how there can be so many losses for Trump in the Supreme Court if the Supreme Court is just made up of loyalists who we now need to stack the deck and put more Democrats in there. I'm confused like so many others. Trump says there is a big meeting tomorrow with Iran. Iran says what meeting? Survey of the day, who's telling the truth, Donald or Iran? Trump answers questions in the Oval Office. What happened to his hair? Wow, you're good. All right, Rick. He looks like he was riding down I-95 with his head out the window. This is how we're going now. All right, okay, good. Keeping it classy, just like Michelle Obama asked. When they go low, we go high. Why is Trump still so stuck on why mail-in ballots are corrupt? The data says no corruption. Get over it. He says no other nation uses mail-in ballots. Actually, upwards of 36 nations do. You won 2 out of 3 elections. What do you want? Trump says everything other than the Save America Act is a big yawn. He still won't sign the housing bill to restart the housing market and economy because he can't have his way with how we vote. Never mind the economy. Voters are cheaters. Whatever, Donald, you're the biggest cheat, sneak, liar, con, and fraud on the planet. He's against mail-in ballots because that's how he votes. So much more to write, et cetera, et cetera. All right. And then we got, let's see, we got a wave. I thought we had another addition to our survey. Now, continuing on with kind of with Mika Brzezinski and others on Pod Save America, which is a far left podcast, Democrat Socialists candidate, DAC, came up. And John Favreau, a former Obama speechwriter, played a clip of Carville's condemnation, saying no one should dismiss this. I think the thing we should take away is, like so much else what's happening in this country, when progressives beat establishment candidates in the 2nd District of Maine, in the California race where Randy Villegas won, Graham Plattner forcing Janet Mills out of the race, like there's a giant warning sign for the Democratic establishment here. Where the support of people like Schumer or even Hakeem Jeffries is certainly not an asset in our campaign and may be a deterrent. It's very clear that the groups on the left, Justice Democrats, Democrat Socialists of America, our revolutions, are out organizing, out fundraising, out working, out maneuvering the traditional party institutions. This is happening. They have captured the energy. They're being more creative. They're being more strategic. They're being more aggressive. If you are someone in the Democrat establishment, you should be deeply concerned about what this says about where the party is, what the standing of the party is, what the ability of the party infrastructure is to win elections. So this is a big deal. So he calls it a warning signs to Democrats and slams the moronic far left views. Really here, the panic is over DAC. And I will just say she might be the most left-wing candidate to ever win a Democratic primary in our lifetime. Here's where I have a problem. She has not apologized for attending an anti-Israel rally on October 8, 2023, a rally that was condemned by Zohran Mamdani, AOC, and Brad Lander, who actually left the DAC because it promoted that rally, where attendees chanted that Hamas's resistance was justified the day after October 7th, the day after they slaughtered 1,000 Israelis, and to this day, she still defends attending that rally. The other problem I have, she sat down for an interview with the New York editorial board last week where she said she's against all deportations. She's for open borders because, quote, bordering is a very modern construct, actually. The borders are in our hearts and our minds. She wants to abolish prisons and refused to say when asked, she got 4 different chances on this, refused to say that a convicted murderer should be sentenced to any jail time at all. Now, maybe she turns over a new leaf in Congress and her voting record doesn't match some of these more extreme positions. I hope so. But I think the reason I bring this up is because when Democrats get questions about this, I think the answer is easy and important to give, which is that she currently holds a range of views that go from moronic to abhorrent. And not only do these views not align with most Democrats in the country, nearly all Democrats in this country, all elected Democrats actually, most elected Democrat socialists, but I don't even think they align with a lot of people who probably voted for her. And we got to take a break. All right, keep those last second comments and waves coming in. We're just ready to wrap up. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Hi, this is Tom Witzel, owner of Hesselson's in Amara Heights. At Hesselson's, we care about your well-being and overall health, whether it's relieving stress, muscle recovery, increasing circulation, or just revitalizing the body. Hesselson's now has 2 complete line of infrared and traditional rock saunas in our new and expanded showroom. Come in today and see why owning a sauna is a start of your new healthy lifestyle. Hesselson's is still locally and family-owned and operated in Amara Heights. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
You can just keep watching and scrolling, and the world will still feel like it's falling apart.
Widespread missile attack. Highest hospitalization. Also evacuation in the western forced labor.
Or you can take action by joining a movement that's creating real and lasting change instead. Partnering with communities around the globe to help uproot poverty and plant seeds of hope for a brighter tomorrow. Because at World Vision, we believe that no situation is hopeless. Join a movement that's changing the world for good.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio on Market Street in Corning. Ken writes in, I seldom say anything directly to any of your amazing viewers, but I have to ask Rick, don't hold back. Tell us how you really feel about Trump. Thank you very much, Ken. All right, Rick did write back in to take part in our survey. Not that it matters, but I will give the poll a low 4. But I'm a Democrat in Republican land. Harry Enton on CNN yesterday was for the 63%. Thank you. It just didn't cross my path. By the way, the Republicans scoring 10 on your survey need to get back on their meds. Okay. All right, whatever. It's an open survey. Comment from a different viewer. I have to go with a 10. Not that everything here is perfect, but if you have lived in another country or even visited one, you should be very appreciative of all we have in the U.S. And just to kind of maybe clarify, thank you for that. You're exactly right. I think maybe to clarify a little bit, the reason is if you have a patriotism for this country, 10 being the most extreme that you could be with patriotism, 1 being the least or being the most proud of this country, I should say. So I don't see any reason why it would be something negative to be a 10. You may not agree with it yourself, Rick, but I would say that I don't see anything why that would be such a negative. There's a piece, and we got time for a few more comments before we wrap up. I got to take one more break. But there's an interesting piece by Alyssa Finley, who says, why being progressive is no longer enough on the left. The leftist Democrats are losing to the Mamdani socialists who think they aren't radical enough. Saying, perhaps for the economic opportunities enabled by America's free market system and government safeguards for individual liberties, young progressives take for granted their constitutional right to criticize and protest their government. Acts that in a socialist regime get citizens thrown in jail. Yeah, we got to take our second break. Stay with us. Get those comments in. Get your opinion on the survey. Scale 1 to 10, where do you stand on America? We'll be right back.
The tide
isn't just a gentle ebb and flow. It's a mighty force of change. Just like the tide shapes our shorelines, we can shape our planet's future and protect the world's oceans from its biggest threats. Help us turn the tide. Join Oceania's wave of ocean advocates who are making a difference in the world.
Hello there, I'm meteorologist Brandon Weathers. We do have some shower and thunderstorm potential into the later part of our Tuesday. Before that happens, temperatures pushing toward 93. We'll have lingering storms overnight with temperatures bottoming out only in the low 70s. Then well into the 90s on Wednesday with more thunderstorm potential, 99 and sunshine on Thursday, maintaining some heat over 4th of July weekend with additional showers and thunderstorms, which could.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson's studio here on Market Street in Corning. Democrat socialism is sweeping the nation, says Eric Patterson, and voters should be alarmed. Now another major American city stands on the brink of so-called democratic socialism. Whatever the party label, Americans need leaders who believe in the American dream. Individual liberty, opportunity, strong families, civil society, a vibrant private sector, and limited government. Now, Hakeem Jeffries has this dilemma. New York victories expose the Democrat Party divide. Some politicians bark gruffly when they are under pressure. Others become wildly frenetic. Some pick fights. Others go quiet and retreat. Jeffries gets puffy. I didn't read this quote. Because they said he looks tired. But Democrat Party stalwart said, Cavalier, DAC, is our David Duke. She is poisoning the possibility of a Democratic majority. Wow, that's interesting. I never thought of that in that context. So they say he's in a dilemma, that he looks tired, that would he be up for the job? Sometimes leadership is less about choosing between good options than about choosing between bad ones. This week, Hakeem Jeffries, faced with nothing but bad options, chose rhetorical party unity. It's too bad. It's too soon to say if Jeffries' choice was clever statesmanship or simply the first compromise in what assuredly will be very long negotiations over the future of his party. And that's what the Post editorial boards kind of echo, that Schumer and Jeffries and company need to get real about the enemy to the left. If you don't want to get eaten by the revolution, you need to make fighting the extremists your top priority, because they'll never stop gunning for you. And now you got to look at it in Albany, one-party rule in Albany, that the DSA is a new kid on the block. Democrat Socialists did well in state legislative races. Is that a problem for the Democratic Conference? You know, they must be scared about what this will mean for, because I think a lot of people saw, obviously, the election of Trump and saw the Democrats have gone so far, and that's why Trump's ad was so impactful, that the I'm with you, she's with they, them. You know, the kind of the woke policies, and people have said that they abolish the police, or defund the police, excuse me. Kind of these social issues were the fall of the Democrat Party. Now they've went even farther with it. So they're in a really dangerous scenario. And I think more level-headed Democrats or strategists or pundits realize that. I would have to assume Hakeem Jeffries does. He just doesn't know how to handle it, how to get out of it, and it doesn't seem like he's doing it well. But the future we'll see. But that's it for today's edition of Frankly Speaking. So many comments. Sorry I didn't get to all of them at the end. But we'll keep that survey going for the next couple of episodes until Thursday. So let me know on a scale of 1 to 10 where you stand on 1 of being the least proud of America, 10 being the most you could be of America. Have a great day, everyone. We'll be back tomorrow morning starting at 6 a.m. for Frankly Speaking, only on WYDC TV, Big Fox. We'll see you bright and early. I look forward to it already.
When you visit Carpenters, Phillips, and Flint's, our goal is to always make every family feel like they're at home. Our 3 locations each have their own unique qualities to them, so when a family comes to us at the time of need, we have the options.
Every family we serve is different, and what they're looking for is different. We have to be able to allow the family to tell their story, and everyone's story is unique to them.
Visit carpentersphillipsflint.com to learn more about our family-owned funeral homes.